Good afternoon. I'm Veronica Alvidrez Alvarez. I'm the Director of Innovative Learning with Ysleta Independent School District. And I will give you a little bit more information about myself and my team in just a little bit. But I have the privilege of sharing with you our AI journey over in our district. So, leading the AI paradigm shift from literacy to governance. So before I do the introduction of my team, I do just want to start with a couple of statistics that I found and that really stress the importance of why we need to really start considering how we're teaching AI in schools with students. So the skills gap. In a 2026 study in Arkansas State University found that 31% of employers are actually having to retrain recent college students, and that's primarily due to gaps in AI skills. Another statistic that I found pretty interesting was that 26% of employees are saying that entry-level hires with college degrees are not meeting their expectations. And again, that's largely due to a lack of just practical AI literacy. Some information on the educational mismatch. And so this was interesting. 86% of college students are using artificial intelligence already for academic work, daily and weekly. And so that one wasn't too alarming. The one that was a little bit more alarming was that only 20% of college students are actually stating that somebody, a professor, has actually taught them about prompting and prompting skills, which is really a foundational skill for interacting with generative AI. And so the World Economic Forum also predicted that by 2027, 75% of companies will adopt AI. When we started this journey and really diving into AI, that was back in summer of 2023. That statistic wasn't high, wasn't 75%. And so just in that short time, it's already increased to 75% of companies that are going to adopt AI. The number of jobs that are going to be lost globally or be displaced as a result of AI by 2030 will be 92 million jobs worldwide. But AI is also going to create a lot of new opportunity because it will create 170 million new roles. And this is a prediction that by 2030, there's going to be a lot of new roles that we've never even heard of. So we're really preparing our students for jobs that they don't exist right now. There's 3 listed on there that are just now emerging: the AI prompt engineering managers, the AI ethic officers. So we're really getting them and preparing them now for jobs that we don't know exist. And that's really hard. That's a mind shift when we're teaching our students and thinking about what skills we're equipping them with. And so that was a little picture of our babies. So this is my team, and so I do just want to give them a lot of credit because this is truly a collaborative effort. And so when we started on this journey, we had a lot of heated discussions, some disagreements, some headbutting. It's really been a journey, to say the least, a laborious understanding of artificial intelligence, and it required us to really start researching and building our own foundational understanding and knowledge of what is artificial intelligence and what implications is it going to have on our students, on how we teach. So a little bit about myself. I am the Director of Innovative Learning, which really is a fancy name for instructional technology. My team is really small. I have been in education for a while now. I taught in an elementary school first and fourth, and then I moved to middle school as an instructional coach. And then I went into an administrative role, and I spent some time there, 5 years as an elementary assistant principal, 7 years as a principal. And then I took the leap into what they informed me was the dark side. And I went to central office. And so at central office, I took the role of Director of Innovative Learning, which is currently where I'm at. And so in my team, instrumental to this effort and this journey are my 2 innovative learning specialists, Miss Nisha Daniel. She too has strong elementary background. as a teacher. And then William Larry Snyder. He's been with the district since 1998, and he's worn many hats. He was an elementary teacher, a PE teacher, an instructional technology teacher at the campus before he joined the team. And finally, we have Mr. Eric Buenrostro, who is our digital resource and content specialist, and he is here today. So he came to support. He was a technical support, and then he's now in his current role as digital resource and content specialist. And so they are very qualified and skilled at what they do. I know Misha is a certified Google innovator. She is also a certified Apple educator, a Minecraft educator as well. So she's got a lot of expertise, as does Eric, who is also a specialist in digital resources, an expert in digital resources and hardware and software. And so when we started looking at our AI journey, it's just a 30-minute presentation. And so I chunked it into phases. So phase one was really our discovery and our literacy. And this started back in summer of 2023. So around that time, we started really hearing about these tools. We knew that artificial intelligence was obviously going to have an impact in schools, but we started learning more about it through these tools that were built for education that were leveraging large language models. And so all we did was start just learning about the tools at that time. And it wasn't until March 2024 when we really did like an activity where we kind of just opened the door for, let's create a safe space about some of these tools. And so I'll give you a little bit more information on what that looked like. And then in April, we really anchored down on our own internal knowledge. We really started doing a lot of intensive research, attending webinars, reading documents, looking online to see what was out there. And this was really internal, just like to our team. And then we did an end of the year survey that summer during that academic year. So I'll give you a little bit more details on that. So the Spark 8 tools in 5 minutes. There was a lot of excitement and enthusiasm about, oh my gosh, have you guys seen this thing called Magic School? Have you seen this tool called Curipod? And so all of these tools were popping up. We really didn't want to control and ban at that point because there was a lot of curiosity around these tools and the capabilities of these tools. So we approached it more as like, this is our discovery phase. We are going to look at some of these tools, and if they're safe, we'll let them discover and play with them and see what they think and see the reaction that we're getting from those tools. So we moved away from restrictive policies and we focused on a culture of intentional innovation. In March, our department actually, we're fortunate enough in our district to have an instructional technology teacher at every single campus. And so our department actually leads and guides and plans and does the monthly trainings of these individuals. And so in March of 2024, we knew that some of them had already heard about some of these tools. And so we just did like a quick, what we called 8 tools in 5 minutes. So it wasn't about becoming an expert in these tools. It was more about showcasing, hey, look, you can level the text with Magic School in like 5 seconds. Teachers can use RIS teaching to create lesson plans or unpack standards. And so it was just kind of showcasing them, putting them out there so that they can also increase their awareness, and then giving them an opportunity to feel like this is a safe space you can practice playing and getting your hands on some of these tools. From there, we moved, of course, to proactive research and early strategy. And so we had to do a little bit of a shift and go deeper, because it wasn't just about the tools, it was about really understanding what artificial intelligence is, the types of AI, how it works, and how these agents are leveraging large language models to build these educational tools. We also started learning about data privacy, data sharing also, and how the different models leverage different, or what they do with your data. And so we used some of the resources that are listed on here, not all of them, because again, this was barely emerging, developing, and so many of these sites on here were not as robust as they are now. But Teach AI was a big one. They did host quite a bit of webinars, which I made sure I was attending. And they were just having those early discussions around artificial intelligence and what leaders need to start considering. And they also put out a guidance toolkit, which was really helpful. The other thing that really helped us was at the time when we started our journey of understanding, there was only 8 states that had actually put out some type of formal guidance at that time. There's 32, 34 now, but at that time there was only 8. And so we found the 8 states that had put out the guidance, and we read through it. We read through some, and then we found huge disparities. There were some states that only had a 1-page document as their guidance, and others that had like a booklet of over 100 pages. But what we were looking for was themes, commonalities, topics, because we really quickly started realizing that there was a pattern to some of the things that were being included across those 8 states. So we also started attending, obviously, a lot of conferences. And at one of those conferences, I heard the author of How to Teach AI actually present. And so I learned about her book, and I thought, you know what, we need to get ahead of it. Let's just purchase that book, which we will be actually doing a book study with our ITTs this upcoming school year on that book. But as a department, we started doing a book study internally. And so we would have discussions about it as we were reading the chapters. So we leveraged all of this to start really designing our own guidance, because Texas has not put out anything formal yet. And at that time, they were not one of the 8 states, obviously. So the other thing we did at the end of the year was, okay, we gave them pretty much the whole year. We put some tools in the hands of our ITTs and asked them to start sharing with the teachers. And innately, the teachers were already doing it. Some of them, the ITTs, which are instructional technology teachers, actually came and told us, oh yeah, our teachers are the ones that are using all of these tools. So we let them just play, didn't restrict anything. And what we did at the end of that year was send out a survey. And so we have a workforce of about 2,200 teachers, and we received a little bit under 1,700 responses on that survey. And those are just sample questions, not all the questions, but a couple of questions that we included on our survey, because what we wanted to do was get a sense of understanding of how are they feeling about AI? What are the things that are concerns for them? And then also, how do they feel about whether or not AI should even be taught in schools, and at what grade level should it be taught? So we sent out a survey. And what we got on that survey in the summer or in the fall the following year, we started looking at the results, and we noticed that 80.9% of the teachers that completed that survey actually felt that artificial intelligence needs to be taught in schools. And so they were very enthusiastic about that. And we thought, wow, this is great. There was a large amount of teachers that also were stating that they felt somewhat prepared to teach it, which was a positive also. So everyone was all in on the AI buzz. And now we're gonna move into our phase 2. So that was our phase 1. Our phase 2 was really drafting and implementation. This is when, in September of 2024, having received all of the results of the survey, having done all of the extensive studying that we had been doing and learning, we decided, let's start drafting something. And so we started putting together our human-centered AI guidance, and we really worked on just kind of the introduction and the purpose of what this guidance, or what the goal was, our vision. We were putting that together. We started rolling out PD as well, based on survey results again. We started finding gaps of what is the foundational knowledge that teachers still need, because we noticed that teachers were asking for that, just basic understanding of how artificial intelligence works and what it is, the types that are out there. And then in spring of 2025, we did another survey at the end of the year, and I purposefully used the exact same questions that I used at the beginning of the year, because I wanted to compare apples to apples. And then we also, this is going into actually this academic year. So this academic year in fall of 2025, we were also analyzing some student data. And so we had some considerations and some things that we had to put in place as a result of that. And so I'll go into detail with you on that. But going back to the guidance, one of the first things that we developed was a framework. And so we called it the THINK framework. And really, it's an acronym. Teachers love acronyms. We all love acronyms in the world of education. And so THINK stands for something. It stands for tool, honesty, investigate, necessary, and knowledge. And each one of them has a little descriptor. And so this really became kind of the foundation of when we use AI, we need to think before we use it. And so we started rolling this out with our ITTs, and we asked them to do a TOT, which is they would take it back to their class, to their campuses, and do a training with their teachers in this particular framework. And so this really grounded the AI guidance. We hadn't actually shared the guidance with them yet, but we were sharing this one framework component with them. It also set guardrails because we really wanted them to think about what was happening with their data, where it was going, and being very cautious about what you're putting in. And then we also wanted them to use it in a very responsible way. So we were creating a culture of integrity, and we wanted the productive struggle in learning to still be front and center. So focused development for PD. Now that we had some data around what they needed, we started putting together very focused professional development for all of our stakeholder groups. We also started reflecting and saying it can't just be the teacher, it needs to start from the top. So we started offering central trainings for our central office staff. And so listed on there are some of the topics. Some of them were very foundational. Chatbots 101, what is AI, the risk versus the benefits. We wanted to be very transparent about that. Responsible use. And then we also started doing some very tailored presentations for departments. And I know Ms. Moy can attest to that as well. She's our Associate Superintendent of Technology. She actually assisted, and we were doing some team presentations there. But we were meeting with maintenance and operations, the finance department, transportation, and just introducing them to this understanding of what AI and chatbots could actually do for them. On their specific tasks that they had to do. So it was very tailored to tasks that they encounter and do every single day, right? So we started doing that type of training across the district. We also partnered with Adobe. And so Adobe came over to our district and offered to do an Adobe Creativity Institute that summer. And we thought, what a great way to launch it. 150 teachers in the summer. Come and learn about these AI-infused, generative AI-infused tools to create and promote creativity with students. And so that was a huge success. When we opened up that particular training, it filled up in, the 150 filled up in like the first 10 minutes that it was open. So that went really well. And then we also ended the year by mimicking something that we did with Adobe, right? Because we saw how we ran it. And so what we thought was, okay, we're not going to bring Adobe this time to do it at the end of the year. We're going to do it in-house. And so we used some of our ITTs, all of our staff, of course, and we did a huge training called Future Ready Teaching in the summer. And again, same result. This time we were focusing on other tools, Canva, Google Bids, Google Tools, Magic School, Adobe Express. That training also filled up within 10 minutes of us opening it. And during the school year, we also offered for teachers virtual 1-hour trainings, and they're called Talk About Tech Tuesdays. That really has stuck. We are still doing that to date, and that's led by Misha, Daniel, and Larry Snyder. So they do a 1-hour training on different topics. And so that particular year, they were really focusing on just AI stuff. So using AI to create teaching resources, Google Slides, so a bunch of different tools that utilize artificial intelligence. So the end of the year survey, interestingly, when it came back, we saw this huge shift in how teachers were now feeling about AI. Where in the beginning of the year, they were feeling at 80% enthusiasm, yes, we should teach it. At the end of the year, it went down to 69.1%. So initially when we started looking at the data, we're like, oh, it's going in the opposite direction. But we really started focusing in on other questions. And so we started learning that there was a shift more to like, okay, let's be a little bit cautious about, let's just not jump right in with both feet, which for me, I thought that was a positive because I saw it as, okay, we're doing during the year what we wanted and set out to do, right? Which was educating them on risks versus benefits, and then showing them the different types of AI and what generative AI tools can do, where your data goes, learning about personally identifiable information and the risks associated with that and responsible use. And so now teachers were like, okay, great, we like it, but let's hold on and see what's going on here, how it's going to impact instruction, right? So a note there is this shift reflected a maturing perspective as initial excitement meets the practical realities of implementation. So we're moving into phase 3 now, which was our governance and pivot. So going back to December 2025, which was this academic year. In January, our board did approve a policy CQD, and I will go into that in more detail in just a second. But in December, I'm going to go back one more month before that. In December, we really started looking at student data. And so we use a filter that allows us to be able to see what students are doing in terms of having conversations with chatbots. And so remember that at this time, nothing had been really, we weren't blocking anything. We were allowing the students to go in and play with these chatbots. And so we ran a report initially just to see like where are they going, what chatbots are they using, and of course predominantly came back ChatGPT was the number one. Gemini was on there as well, a couple of Copilot, but it was really ChatGPT. And then we started looking at the number of engagements they were having or conversations they were having, which was alarmingly high. But more importantly, then we started drilling down to like, let me look and see what exactly it is that they're asking. And so that was interesting. So I'll give you a little bit of details with that because that resulted in us having to do a little bit of a safety pivot. So I'll share that with you. In February 2026, we did that. We also started this spring a pilot with Magic School in our middle schools where they are customizing some of the tools for us, and our 7th and our 8th grade teachers are using that. And we joined the Regional Learning Incubator with UTEP in partnership with UTEP and El Paso Computes. And so I'll give you a little bit more about that. The reality check though, our data that we looked at in December 2025 really told us that kids were not using it as a collaborative partner. They were using it just to get answers. And so we were seeing a lot of low-level prompts like write an essay on, or what's the answer to this math problem? And yes, some inappropriate questions as well that were getting flagged. But it really was an erosion of the productive struggle. It was mindless retrieval over critical analysis. And so we knew like we have to do something about that, right? So what we did is we said, you know what, we're gonna let them go to the chatbot, but when they go to the chatbot, we're gonna redirect them. So when the kiddos get on there, the students get on there and go into ChatGPT, our 6th through 12th grade students, they're going to get redirected to Gemini. And our littles, if they're using a chatbot, are going to get redirected to Securely. And so we put those 2 parameters in place because we wanted to keep them safe. And so Gemini is a little bit more built for education. It does not use the data to train its models. And we also knew that the data belonged to us. And so we put those parameters in place. And we also put into place a disclaimer. And so now when students open up their Chromebook devices, this authorized access window opens when they try and access the chatbot. And it's pretty much just telling them before you start, remember to think. You need to ask permission from your teacher. And then it gives them a bunch of different, you need to be safe. You need to give credit, which means citing. If you use AI, you need to check the facts. And you need to be aware that your account's being monitored. And then I especially like this one down here that tells them that they need to be cognizant and remember that AI is not a person. And so if they're feeling a certain way, they need to go talk to an adult. The other thing that we put in place is a student AI portal extension. And so when students click on that AI portal extension, they open up a window on the side panel that has, again, our Think up there, approved AI tools, a quick safety check, and some school resources for students. So we put that in place as well. And so what we started noticing is where we were having 59,000 chats with 46,000 deflections, which means that kids were asking questions and the AI was not responding, or they were inappropriate. That went down significantly once we put in those changes to only 21,000 chats and then only 2,222 deflections. And then more importantly, the type of information that they were asking for changed as well. There were some predefined responses that we were able to build in. So when the child asked things like, hey, tell me about where I could find what I could do to unblock these things that are blocked, it just tells them, I always try to be helpful, but my safety checks are stopping me from answering this one. So they're predefined responses for the students. And then we started noticing that kids started asking it for questions that were a little bit more elevated. Collaborative thought partner. So how can I improve my background knowledge when writing an essay? And can you give me some examples of this? So that's very different questioning and prompting than what they were asking for before. And so we started seeing more and more of that. Our CQD local did get approved. And we also revised our student acceptable use policy. And our CQD local, what's going to happen there is they are going to have to be, it mandates that teachers annually now take an AI course, online course module at the beginning of every year. And so that will be starting this upcoming school year. And we joined the El Paso AI Incubator in partnership with UTEP and El Paso Commutes. So they are working on creating aligning education with future economic needs. And so now phase 5, that's what we're looking forward to this coming year. So we're going to continue to analyze data so that we can refresh our guidance. It is complete at this point. We have minor revisions to make on it, but we need to start talking about the systemic rollout of it for this upcoming school year. We're going to go ahead and do some professional development around that particular guidance, continue with that. And then, of course, the mandatory AI training that I mentioned. But our real shift this coming year is going to be the student and parent components, because we do want to start spending more time on strategically teaching students about AI. And parents. We did very little parent within the last few years, and so we really want to focus more on going out to the learning communities and doing some some courses and some meetings about artificial intelligence. So on the AI readiness spectrum, where are our students? We really want to move them from being dependent users that just rely on AI for everything to complete tasks to more strategic AI users where they're intentionally using AI to enhance and extend skills. And so that is really the goal. And so as I wrap it up, I want to leave you with this quote. We don't just want to create a policy for a tool. We want to create a culture of integrity. We believe in the power of the human in the loop, where AI serves the thinker and the productive struggle remains the heartbeat of learning. And so there again is my team. Our contact information is at the bottom. Should you have any questions or want to just reach out to us, we're more than welcome to, and we'll answer you as soon as we're able to. And that pretty much is it. Thank you.